Well, hey Blue Marble Riders, I'm out today doing a bit of a tech review on a piece of equipment that I think is the most necessary if you're going to buy a touring bike, particularly the Vstrom 1000 from 2014 to 2020, and that is the Givi Airflow Windshield. Hard to see, but you're looking right at it, it's in front of you, and this is a very necessary piece of equipment. But first, some history. 2012 I bought a Vstrom 650, the second generation, the new one as it was then that came out, and it was a fantastic bike, but there was one major flaw, and it was the Suzuki engineers had not taken it into a wind tunnel and actually tested what that windshield on it did to your helmet, or my helmet in particular, because I ended up getting headaches after about 10 minutes. The buffet off it was ridiculous. There was not much I could do about it. I could move it up, I could move it down. It didn't seem to make any difference. It didn't go up high enough and it didn't go down low enough, and the buffet was always centered on my helmet. Not a good plan, so I went out and I bought a Madstad. Aftermarket Madstad. I was very pleased with the Madstad. It did a wonderful job of smoothing the airflow, albeit at a little bit of an expense. It was not a very techy solution. It was a very large piece of plastic. I had it tinted as well, which wasn't a great move on my part, because at night it was harder to see through, and see through it you kind of did have to, because it was so big. The way it did its job of smoothing the airflow was to basically plow it out of the way. So no complaints about the quality of the ride behind it, but perhaps the fuel economy and the vision through it, the latter being my problem, because I ordered it in a tint. I could have got it in a clear. Anyway, roll on. A few years later, take it in for a service, and of course you know what those Suzuki guys do. Hey, you want to take the 1000 for a test ride? The new 1000? Sure enough, I did that, and yeah, it suffered from the same malady. Wonderful bike in all respects, a definite step up from the 650, but yeah, it was back, the helmet buffet, and it was back in spades. It was actually, in my opinion, worse than the 650. I got double vision and nausea from riding behind it. So rather than go Madstad this time, I got on the forums and I looked for alternatives, and there were lots. National, MRA, all sorts of different ones out there. Madstad had theirs, of course, and I thought it was a low-tech solution. Suzuki had their own solution, but you know what, after plowing some money to buy a Suzuki and hearing things that it really wasn't much of an improvement, I decided to go for a high-tech solution, and therefore I went for the Givi Airflow. Cost me about 200 bucks. And the way the Givi Airflow solves the buffeting problem is with two pieces that you can see, the lower piece here and the upper piece. It is adjustable because the Suzuki itself allows for forward and rearward adjustment of the windshield, but what the Givi adds is an easy solution to raising and lowering the windshield. And you can see, if I just do this, I can bring the windshield up, I think it's 12 centimeters, or I can bring it all the way down. I tend to have it just so I can see over it. I don't like looking through shields unless I absolutely have to. So I've got it on a lower setting there, and you can see. And also, when you attach it to the stock arms on the Suzuki, there are three positions. I've got it on the bottom one, 1, 2, and 3. You can see those three positions there. I have it on the bottom one. I could raise it up even higher if I wanted, but I find that it does a fantastic job. Now, I'm behind a truck and I'm flying into a southeasterly right now. The southeasterly is quite noticeable. If this had been on my Madstad, on my 650, I would have felt that southeaster. Now, while it stopped the buffet on the helmet, if I came up behind a truck like this or a large vehicle, it acted like a sail. It was so big, and I was worried that that was also what would happen with the 1000 version of the Madstad windshield. So that's another reason I went for the Givi Airflow, was that it solves the problem with tech. And these two pieces together here, if you take a look at them, you've got the lower piece and you've got the upper piece, and as I get down to the highway, you'll notice that I'll be able to feel air coming through there, and that air sculpts the airflow through and around the windshield and creates a nice bubble of calm. Is it absolutely calm? No, you're on a bike, not in a car, but it sculpts the wind flow and you're pretty well out of the wind flow. It's sculpted around you, but it does it in a more techie way rather than just plowing through it. So I feel far less feedback from the windshield on my steering inputs than you might do on a Madstad or something like that. So I'm up to 120, and I'm now into the teeth of a southeaster. It was quite noticeable earlier on. and I've got it lowered quite far down. I think the camera's looking through it, but my eyes are right over the top of it, which is where I like it. Now, if I tilt to the outside, I think you can hear the difference, and if I go above it, I think you can hear the difference. And right now I'm in a bubble of calm. If I put my hand on my head, on the back of my hand right now is getting the airflow. Okay, it's a good, what is that, 3-4 inches off the top of my helmet. Also, if I go out the side here, this is where the airflow starts. So from here in, there's no airflow. Same on the other side. These rather large shoulders here are kicking the wind out. You'll see the bottom one has shoulders all the way to the bottom here, which throws the air out. Now I can feel wind coming up through this slot here, and that wind is helping to stop any turbulence that may be forming on there and sweep it back over my head. So I've got an airflow that actually sweeps it back over my head. I can adjust this, being a Suzuki, I can push this all the way back. If I want increased airflow, push that forward, and I'm now getting just a little wind right here on the front. And if I've got vents and I want that air to go in there, but it is smooth, it's not shaking my helmet around. If I want to go to the middle setting, that's pretty well clear of me now, and if I go to the forward setting, it's flying over me. Now there's another way I could do that. I can simply raise this up, which will bring me to my one and only major issue with this windshield. So now here I am, I'm looking through the shield, and I'm in a complete bubble of calm. I can feel some wind right about here, I think coming off the underside of the mirrors, but that's it. Everything else is pretty good. My shoulders are getting a tiny bit, but I'm in a partial vacuum here, and I'm behind a Loomis vehicle, which creates a lot of buffet. Let's go past him. And there we go, smoothed right out. Now I don't typically like looking through windshields. Rain and so on and so forth can speckle them up. But what I do use this windshield for in the lower setting is, what it will do for me is it will allow me to not get any water on my visor. I don't know how it really does that. It seems to make that shield over the top of you and pushes the rain over and above you, so you barely get any water on your visor, which is a great thing when you're behind a windshield. If you're not sure what it's like without a shield on another bike, or why you would take a shield and put it on a bike like this, well then my suggestion to you would be to try this. So right now I'm doing 120, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it is fairly loud. It's a lot different. It's smooth airflow, which is lovely. This thing creates smooth airflow, but it's a lot different from being behind the Givi Airflow on the Vstrom. So that is why I've got one of those on there. It's not a fashion statement, it's a functionality, it's a pragmatic choice. When I go cruising for, 800 clicks a day, believe you me, I couldn't have done that behind a shield like this. One thing you saw me do on the Suzuki behind the Givi Airflow was this. I simply cannot do that very low. It's almost sucking the air. Oh, I just can't do that. It's almost at that speed. It's like having, I don't know how those people can do 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour without a shield in front of their face. So there you go. Another reason that I have Givi Airflow on my V-Strom. Not as pretty as the stock OEM windshield that came from Suzuki, admittedly, but a damn sight more functional. Definitely worth every dollar. Now some people are going to say this shield makes the bike very ugly. Well, compared with the stock shield, it is perhaps slightly uglier, but the V-Stroms, the GSs, and all of those bikes, they're all made to look a bit, dorky, fugly, call it what you will, the off-road look to them, the beaks on the front. So this sort of complements that. I don't have a problem with it. Believe you me, traveling, hundreds of kilometers a day, on a tour, this makes the difference between a livable trip and you wanting to hop in the sack at 5 o'clock at the end of the ride and not do anything till the next morning, fearing the fact you're going to have to do the same thing again. I've been there. Not on this bike, but on previous bikes. It's so nice to have a place where you can sit and you are just calm, calm, calm. Everything is easy, it's comfortable, it's quiet. If you want to experience what this shield is like on a long journey, then I'll put a link right up here to my touring videos and you can take a look. Let's go to an outdoor studio today. Let's go check this out. So let's step off and take a look at the shield in detail. So as you can see, apart from my Crater Lake sticker on it, it's fairly minimal. The Madstad that I had on the 650, and I'm not quite sure what it looks like for the 1000, but it was much wider. It was curved around and it came up kind of like that. It's a rather archaic way of doing the same thing that this does. This allows air up a little bit underneath there and a little bit here, and you get that laminar flow which smooths turbulence. The shoulders are wide, the air is parted, but not too wide. The adjustment is given to you easily because it's two-piece, and as you've seen me do, I can literally just pull those up and bring them up like that. I can go as low or as high as I want. Now the Suzuki system is that push all the way forward, 1 notch, 2 notch, and then release again. So I tend to run it middle, there's 1 notch, or middle, there's forward. That's where I tend to run it. I tend to run it about 1 inch up here. Oh, I'm sorry, 2.56 centimeters. Okay, and that's my standard setting. If it's pouring down, I might raise it a little bit, but and if it's hot, you can actually take this off and you get more airflow. So that's the advantage of a two-part shield. My one negative about it is this. Technically, if you don't, when you install it, which is a 15-minute maximum, if you don't screw these bolts up tight enough, they may not catch the detente at the bottom, and this will come right off. So when maneuvering underway on the bike, be very careful that you do not pull too hard and it comes out. It's not happened to me, but I was aware it could happen. There is a detente there and it's very light, but if you pull hard, it'll go right through it. Now there is pressure from the wind which tends to hold it off from doing that when you're underway, but if you're doing it at slow speed, it would come off very easily. So that's a negative for the Givi. I think they could have done a better job there. There's no need to flick two of them down. You can just have the one down. It really does do the job. But for the sake of symmetry, I always have that flick down there. So that's it. I hope you liked it. If you did like this review, it turns out for once the cheapest link I could find to this was my affiliate link on Amazon below. Now I wasn't sent this, I bought this myself, but there is an affiliate link below. It is about $196. If you go to Fortnite, you're going to pay about $212, something like that. The Amazon is, if you're a Prime member, free shipping, I believe. So you could help me out with an affiliate link. It costs you no more. You don't pay anything for it, and I get a kickback to the channel. I'd really appreciate any help you can give me in that department. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Oh, just as an aside, if you have a helmet that has an internal shield like mine does, it's a pleasure to ride with the main shield up and just that internal shield down. You get the tiniest bit of airflow from this pocket here and this pocket here coming through, but it's smooth and it just cools things down for you. So again, kudos to Givi for that nice piece of engineering. Well, ta-ra!
Once again, thanks for watching everyone. If this is the first time you've watched, please consider subscribing. I do product reviews, motorcycle reviews, off-road and on-road vlogs, as well as tours. Don't forget to follow me on social media, that's Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and to like, and especially, I'm begging you here folks, subscribe. This is the BlueMarbleRider, out.